Te he more ora, ko Hingapua te whenua, ko Fort Canning te puke, ko Hingapua te awa, ko Emirates toku wakarere, no Ōtautahi aho inai ani, ko Saemon-Beck toku ingoa whano, ko Saemon toku papara, ko Norma toku whae, ko Hider toku teina, ko Craig toku tane, ko Hana taku ingoa, no reira tēnā koto katoa. Kia ora. First of all, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the team at Kimmins of Ōtautahi. Isn't this wonderful, everyone? So Ngāmihi for putting this wonderful event together. Today, I would like to share with you a snippet of my journey. So I came to Ōtautahi in 2012, about 10 and a half years ago. I can't go into details about why I left Singapore. But in a gist, I was young and looking for an adventure. But I was also feeling quite displaced at home. As a native indigenous person in Singapore, I did not quite fit in. I felt neither here nor there, and I was often told by the dominant group in Singapore that I wasn't like the others. I did not know what to make of that. You see, the Malays in Singapore are the most marginalized group, and we sit at the lowest end of the socio-economic hierarchy. There were and still exist social issues associated with being at the lowest end, such as the overrepresentation of Malays in prison population, and the lowest percentage of Malays with low educational qualifications, which leads to lower economic power. But I was one of the privileged ones because I did well in school, and I was able to make it in spite of the odds stacked against me. Hence why, when I was told that I'm not like the others, it was both a compliment to me, but also an insult to my people. Because of this, I had internal battles, and one of this is the issue of internalized racism, which in summary is someone who has biased thoughts and feelings against their own ethnic group. And my solution was to leave. I decided to leave Singapore to embark on a research journey. The journey was more for me than it was for the status of the qualifications. My plan was to be on neutral ground away from Singapore and seek understanding of the issues that the Malays face. Why are we not doing well in school? Why are we not doing well economically and socially? So I chose Aotearoa, the island of the long white cloud. So far away from home and in the middle of nowhere. It is Middle Earth, right? So why not? So I plan to finish in 3 to 4 years and leave. But as fate would have it, things did not turn out the way it did. I got married, my husband's right there. And to cut the long story short, I embedded myself and integrated into Aotearoa. I started learning Te Reo, and as I continued the Maturanga or the Maori knowledge journey, it helped me with the understanding of my own whakapapa because it is International Women's Day. I will share about the Srikandi or the Wahine Toa whose spirits run through me. So this is just an idea of where the Malays come from. So we do have the same lineage of whakapapa as the Maoris and the other Polynesians. So my great-grandmother. I don't know her name, but I know of her story. My great-grandmother was married to an Indian British Army pilot, and she could speak English, which was amazing at the time. She had 4 daughters, but unfortunately my great-grandfather died in World War II. And my great-grandmother, a single mother of 4, in the dead of the night escaped from Singapore in a small sampan, or type of waka, and rowed the family to safety to a small Indonesian island in Riau called the Buru Island. So great-grandma sold all of her jewelry and valuable belongings to buy land and a machine. Don't ask me what the machine was. I asked my mom, she said it was a machine, so I don't know what machine it was. But she did that so that the family could survive. Unfortunately, she had brain cancer. And as she was dying, she sent her daughters back to Singapore because she said they will have better lives there. And even as she laid in her deathbed, she was thinking of her kids' future. Unfortunately, due to the aftermath of the war and the girls being orphans, they were separated and lived with different families, and they didn't go to school. My grandmother never learned how to read or write. She met my grandfather at the village and they got married not long after. But her illiteracy did not stop her from starting her own business. My late grandfather was an electrician, but with 7 children, money was tight. My grandmother cooked and sold snacks and food to earn money for the family. Up until now, people are still ordering from her. She's like 80 something. And up until now, she still can't tell us the recipe because it's instinctual. She's like, it just is. And just a side note, my grandfather used to read the newspaper out loud to my grandmother so that she was still up to date with the happenings in the world. So it's really, really sweet. Many people think or have the misconception that Muslims don't value girls. It might be in some cultures, but it definitely is not in a Malay Muslim culture. My grandparents made sure that my mom and her sisters received the same opportunities as their brothers. My mom went as far as pre-university, but unfortunately in the 70s, the Singapore government officially changed the first language of Singapore from Malay to English. Imagine learning science, math, geography, and everything else in Malay, and now having to do your examinations and get the same scores in English. It's really hard. So my mom dropped out, but it did not stop her from working. She worked in IRD, of all places, and yes, everything was in English, so that was a learning curve for her. She gave up that part of her life when my younger siblings were born, and she dedicated her whole life to guiding us and teaching us. And even though English wasn't her first language, she knew that it was ours. So she bought us Peter and Jane cassette tapes. Some of the older people would know this. Cassette tapes, so that we could learn how to speak English fluently. We did well in school because of that. And my mom spent a good 6 years caring for my youngest brother, who has since passed away. He was autistic, and when he died, it broke her heart. But this is where I learned what strength looks like. I could not and would not be where I am if not for the Sri Kandi in my life, or the Wahine Kawa in my life, and also if not for the male allies as well. My ancestors may not have had the most privileged life, they might not have had all the riches in the world, but what they had was mana, and they passed this mana to me. Sorry, I'm just getting emotional. And now through my mahi, I am passing on this mana to others. This is why I'm getting emotional. So today, after 10.5 years, I have made my final submission for my PhD. I'm finally done, and I would like to share with you an excerpt from my first page and final page. It took me 10 years to get here. On the first page, I wrote, I would like to acknowledge the people of my land, my ancestors, and the Tangata Whenua, where I now reside. I want to express my gratitude to the people who have come before me, those who have paved the paths and carved the roads for me, and those who have welcomed me with open arms. On my final page, I wrote, I once saw the following on the wall of a classroom. Always ask yourself, who writes the stories? Who benefits from the stories? And who is missing from the stories? I would like to urge everyone to embrace history. Learning about our past and understanding our own whakapapa, whether it is good or bad, can help us make the present and the future a better place. Oh, that's my mom. And finally, I would like to add that Sri Kandis are not just sword-wielding or arrow-shooting wahine. We are normal, everyday women who are making a difference, whether it is in the lives of our children, our whānau, or the community. Sri Kandis are women like you and me. Thank you.